Okay, level ones, welcome back to RDC. This is our third lesson, looking at this particular unit standard worth 3 credits. You've had 2 lessons so far, and we're actually going to just conclude last week's lesson by going over the answers of a particular exercise. We're moving on to the legal issues today, but before we do, I just really want to just conclude and also thank you all for, or most of you, for taking photos of the work that you've done and emailing it through to me. If you're unsure of what you're supposed to take a photo of, I'm expecting to see this page here. I want to see your answers for page 4. I want to see your technical words on page 5. So this area here. And I'm also expecting to see page 7. So that's 3 pages that you've taken a photo of and you've sent to me. Finishing with what would you do in Marnie's situation with her pregnant friend. I'm just going to go over these answers now, looking at these various effects that take place while under the influence of alcohol. So we're looking at whether they were short-term, long-term, or both, and whether they're physical, emotional, interpersonal. You should know generally what those things mean now. Now, looking at increased vulnerability. When someone's vulnerable, let's just confirm what that means. If you're vulnerable, it means that you are a bit open to being manipulated. You are open to being injured, hurting yourself, someone taking advantage of you, because alcohol essentially leads you to losing any control of yourself, and others can, other people and other just natural risks like driving in cars and things can be problematic. Is it a long-term thing? Well, the answer is no. It's actually short, because it only occurs during the time that you're drunk. So the answer here is short, not long. And increased vulnerability, well, the answer here is interpersonal. So it affects, your vulnerability affects your relationships. And we say this because of the way you start to behave around people, and the way people will behave towards you. However, if you did say that this was, your vulnerability is physical or emotional, I'll give you a tick there as well. But essentially, increased vulnerability is interpersonal. Psychological dependence on alcohol. This is to do with your needs in your brain, and what psychological is your psyche, your head. And that dependence on alcohol is a long-term thing, because it actually occurs during and after drinking. Like you have your long-term, it has a long-term effect, because when you're sober, there's also a need to drink, and that is considered to be emotional. It affects your moods and your behavior during and after. So if you've ever met someone who's an alcoholic, they are very fidgety, aggressive, when they're sober, because they are desperate. So that's their emotional state, their mind. They can cry and be all over the show. Feeling more confident when under the influence, well, that's going to be a short-term effect, because it only occurs, that confidence only happens when you're drunk or had a few drinks. It's also emotional, okay, because that's affecting your self-esteem, the way you feel. Remember, emotional is your feelings. Hungover, well, that's also short-term. That only occurs the day after. Sometimes you get the 2-day hangover, but usually the day after, and that's because your body's been poisoned and your body is trying to recover from a period of time it's been poisoned by alcohol. And this is physical. This is a physical effect, because it's affecting your body. Nausea, vomiting. Loss of friendships due to inappropriate behavior. That can be both. That can be short-term and long-term. Your friends can, forgive you the next day and go, you acted like a dick last night, but, we forgive you. But you can also destroy friendships because of perhaps you've got this psychological dependence on alcohol. So you're actually a bit of a handful, whether you're on alcohol or you're not. And that's going to be an interpersonal thing. That's It's affecting how you relate to others. Organ damage, that's long term. It's a thing that happens over a long period of time, and if you have to, like my dad, get your pancreas removed, that's going to affect you for the rest of your life, and that is physical. So give yourself a tick where you got those right. I'll obviously be able to see whether you got them right or wrong because you have taken a photo of this and sent it to me, and if you haven't, this needs to be done. I also hope that with this question, your answer is going to be one that is encouraging the friend to not drink. That is generally what we're trying to do. We're trying to discourage our friend from drinking any alcohol and informing her at the same time, telling her why it's important not to drink, because perhaps she doesn't know, and that's something you've got to think about here. There is a thing that happens when people drink while pregnant. It's called fetal alcohol syndrome, and basically a child can be born with multiple defects because basically the parent has been poisoning them for a period of time as a very small fetus in the womb, and all sorts of psychological and physical changes can occur to a baby as a result, and that's a big reason why you tell someone to stop drinking immediately. Smoking, exactly the same. We're going to move on to legal issues. There's a lot of stuff to go through here with an exercise at the end. What you've got to understand is that alcohol has such an effect on people that we have a law in New Zealand, and that basically says that alcohol should not be consumed by people under the age of 18 years old. There's lots of reasons for that. Your brain is developing at a rapid rate at the moment, and by throwing things like alcohol in the mix, it can re-circuit your brain, and it can affect you for life as a result. Young people are very emotional at this point, and alcohol and emotional young people is not a good combination. If you possess alcohol, if you have it while in custody, we have some issues. It applies to drugs found in the person, in their pocket, in a bag they're holding. Also applies to drugs found in their property. Using the drug, drinking alcohol, smoking cannabis is also part of the restriction. Excuse me, I've got something in my throat. And they're also distributing. So possessing, using, distributing are all part of the illegal side. And when it comes to prosecuting young people for drinking, these are the areas we look at, or the law looks at. They relate to your age, where alcohol is being consumed, whether or not someone is driving, or the sale of alcohol. There are legal implications for anyone, who doesn't follow these laws. The results of not following the law: being fined, being ordered to do community service, and being sent to prison. So in this section, we're going to learn about alcohol laws that relate to people under the age, or under 18 years of age. A person at 18 years old may be fined $200 for possessing alcohol in any public place. That's money you don't want to lose. $200 is a lot of money for you guys. Here's an example. A 17-year-old is sitting by himself in a public park holding an open can of beer. He could be fined $200. It doesn't matter if he's drinking it or not. Just possessing the open can with beer inside is illegal unless he was with his parents or legal guardian. A 15-year-old is walking down the city street. She's carrying an unopened bottle of wine, which can be seen. As the wine isn't concealed, e.g. in a paper bag, she could be fined $200. If there is a liquor ban in a public place, a person of any age who is carrying alcohol can be fined $250. When the law says that something is not allowed, doing something that is illegal may result in being charged by police, going to court and being punished if found guilty. Punishments could include paying a fine, doing community service, or going to prison. When something is legal, when you're doing something legal, that's when the law says that something is allowed. Okay, so when something is illegal, that's when the law says that something is not allowed. You've also got two different types of places that sell alcohol. You've got places that are licensed premises and off-licensed. Okay, so if it's a licensed premise, they hold a license. Cafes, pubs, bars, the RSA, and other licensed sports and social clubs. Okay, so these are licensed premises. They have permission to sell alcohol. Off-license are liquor stores, supermarkets, dairies with a license to sell alcohol. So you can see you've got licensed and off-license. Drinking alcohol. Oh, sorry, let me go up here quickly. It is illegal for people under the age of 18 to buy alcohol, even if they are with their parents or legal guardians. Okay, so you just can't rock up into the alcohol store with your mum and put a box of Cody's on the bench and say, "I'll have these, please." It's not going to happen. You are underage, and again, you'll be fined or could be fined. What I want you to do here, you've got a bit of reading to do. I'm not going to read it for you because the video will go on and on and on. But what we're looking at here is what's legal in each of these places. Okay, tick. This is the legal. This is illegal. I want you to read through this. We're also looking at distributing alcohol. I want you to read through that. And look at the parent and legal guardian. See, there's a lot of stuff here. If I had to read it to you, this video would go on and on and on. So what I want you to eventually get down to is this review page, okay? Write the correct word to complete each of these sentences below. To find the correct words, look back at the previous section. So this is your work for today. I'm not going to make you do anything more than this. But what you have to do is read back through a lot of the stuff up here that I haven't read to help you get the answers here. Okay, that's a 12, almost a 13-minute video. So make sure today, team, that you take photos if you haven't already. And then we'll be moving on. Keep moving through this booklet. Excellent. Have a good day.